education. So the big changes in higher education are all about allowing universities to set fees for their degrees. What's the first thing that's going to happen at Humpty Doo University if they increase their fees for courses that aren't very popular?
Less students.
That's right. Righto. So what are they going to do? They lower their fees. Okay, they lower their fees in order to attract students. Now,
Change
right.
courses.
Yeah, change courses. Go and do a TAFE course. That's right. So now all TAFE is now free and nothing up front. So for the first time under a coalition government,
It's not free
you
because
can
they've
go
got
to
to get a
TAFE.
loan.
Yep. So you go and you have nothing up front, and then you pay it off under the HECS system. And one of the biggest complaints over the last 6 years I've had is that people didn't have the money up front to pay for TAFE. So now there's no concern with that. And then lastly, highly regarded degrees will go up in price if there's large numbers of people subscribing. So law at ANU and Melbourne University will be more expensive than at Queensland. So we're in Queensland, and all the good students want to go to Melbourne and pay extra. What's Queensland going to do? Think about this. They've never done it before because they had a flat rate, captive audience, no one could go interstate. What are they going to do? How do you respond as a university? Think about it. It's your university, Lena. You're a business thinking person.
Lower fees to get more students.
Well, what else might you do?
Coach Melbourne professors.
Bang,
Exactly.
bang. Competition for the best lecturers in the world, the best programs. They want to give students some feedback for their money. No longer in this communist flat earth society where everything's worth the same, even though it's not. Suddenly Queensland's competing.
Won't they just get
Simple
more
change.
overseas students who can pay?
They're only allowed to get a certain ratio, and those people pay in full and can't touch the HECS scheme or the places. So if ever you take overseas students, you can't touch your domestic places. So that's the answer on deregulation of fees. Are fees going to go up? Yes. Am I made to pay that fee? Of course not. It's voluntary. I want to pay that much money for my degree. Just like Australian students go to Oxford and Leeds and pay for their degree because Leeds is famous for its HR degree or its occupational. They want to go to Leeds. So that will liberate people to get interstate, cross boundaries for the first time. We'll have the best students going to the best lecturers. Hannah, and then this lady here.
So is it kind of going to be like the public and private school thing, how the not as good universities will be cheaper, and then the extremely good private schools that give an extremely good education are going to be expensive and for the people who can?
Well, that's a really good question. You have to make sure that doesn't happen. So the question will be, how will the federal government fund the places? So what happens with the schools at the moment, Hannah, is that as your fee goes up and the net wealth of people going to a private school goes up, the money you get from the government falls. Okay, so it's inverse. The more you charge, the less you get from government. In theory, because wealthy people go to expensive schools. So you take the expensive school like King's, they get 16% of the average student funding. Okay, and then when you go to a Catholic school down the road, there's low fee, they get 80% of what it costs to educate a state school student. But still, every state school in Australia gets between $11,000 and $14,000 per student, and not a single independent school gets anywhere near that. Even though the parents of those independent kids are paying all the fees and funding the state school system out of their tax but not using it. So it's a balance, and you're right. So they will have to say, we will fund a fixed amount of these degrees. If you choose to charge more, we're not going to help you in any way at all. Nor are we going to impede people. Look, I think when you've got nothing up front, people just go and pay for the degree that they want to do, and they're liberating individuals to make choices freely. Ma'am, I didn't catch your name.